All right, welcome back to our video series on creating a Maze GUI. So in this video, we're gonna get a little bit further into our MazePanel class. Hopefully we'll get it displaying the maze. I've got this kind of broken up here into a couple things. So we want to display the maze. We already made our application class, which is our Maze GUI. Really, this should have said our mainframe class, but it's fine. We need to show a grid on the maze panel, which we'll focus on in this video, and then we'll look at how to get our text maze into that GUI. So it's kind of the plan for today. So this is a in progress step here. So let's go ahead and take a look at our code. Well, actually, before we do that, I found this article on this response on Stack Overflow on how to draw things in the panel. And so since our maze panel is a J panel, we're going to be able to do what this says. So essentially, look down at this code here. J panel has a method called paint component that takes in a graphics object. We then call super.paint component on that graphics object, and then we can do things like draw rectangle, draw circle. There's a bunch of different methods we can do. So that is what we are going to do here. Yeah, so let's go ahead and get started with that. Go back to my MazePanel class here. Now we don't really need the set preferred size I discovered, so we're gonna move that. But yeah. All right, so inside of my MazePanel class here, we need to write a method, and again, this is just from right here. We're gonna do this paint component. So we're gonna do put @override just so that if I make any typos here, I'll catch them. Paint component. Paint component. Graphics G. Now let's see here. What doesn't it like? Need to import graphics, I'm sure. I think we need. I think that's an AWT, so I'll do an import java.awt.graphics. I think that's right. Yep. And then it says we need to, let's see here. That doesn't seem right. Okay, because it's telling me that's an abstract class. Let's see what this says. Go to, we need to call super, yeah. Return to, oh, yeah, duh. Public void paint component graphics G. There we go. Helps if you do basic Java, right? All right, and in this overridden paint component method, we need to call super.paint component and pass in the graphics object G. So, and that's just something that's needed, right? So I'm just kind of going off of this right here. Now that we have this graphics object, though, we can actually tell it to draw things. So for example, we can do like G dot, and then there's all these different methods. So let's have it draw. For now, I'm just going to draw a rectangle. So draw rect, and it's expecting an X, a Y, a width, and a height. So the X is the X is the top, is the left side, and Y is the top. So it's the top left corner. So I'm just going to have it draw at like, I don't know, 100, 200, and we'll give it a width of, just so I can tell the difference, put 50, 100. Okay. Now, if you recall, our maze frame has our maze panel in it, and our maze GUI is actually creating our maze frame. So let's go ahead and compile this. And again, I'm going to do a star.java because I want to compile everything. And then I'm going to run my maze GUI program. And there we go. We see we now have a rectangle. Now let's see here. If I go back to my maze panel here for a moment, so remember I put it at 100, 200, so we're 100 over and then 200 down, and then has a width of 50 and a height of 100. So yeah, I mean, what I'm thinking here is, okay, if this is 100, is it reasonable that this is actually 200? I think so. That looks about right. Okay, so what that means is to draw our maze, we're going to need some shapes, and I'm thinking squares. So we need to know how big each square is. Now for purposes right now, I'm going to make this, I'm just going to pick a value. Thinking ahead, I think I'm probably going to want to make this dynamic where based on the size of the maze, the square size will change. But for right now, I'm just going to go ahead and make a private int square size. And again, right now, I'm just going to hard code this to be, I mean, I don't even know. I'm just going to make it 15. And so now to get it to draw at least a grid that has the right number of rows and the right number of columns, I'm going to use a for loop. So I'm just going to say for int r equals 0, r less than num rows, r plus plus. For int c equals 0, c less than num calls, c plus plus. Let's see here. So I've got my rows, my columns. Okay, so the top left corner will be the row number times square size. That'll be the x. I'm just going to make that variable int x equals row number, so r times square size. And then same with no, I'm sorry. That'll be int x will be the column number. So column. And then the y will be the row number. All right. And then of course the width and height will be square size. So I think if instead of doing draw rect here, I think if I take this and I put it inside of this loop, and I pass in x, y, and then square size, save that, and then we compile and run. There we go, there's a grid. Cool, that's what I wanted. Now, I'm going to refactor this a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and instead of having all this inside of my paint component method, I'm going to write another method here, another void method. Make it draw maze or draw grid. Make it draw maze. It's going to take in this graphics G. And I don't know if I need this super paint component in there or not. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to copy this. I'm going to cut this and paste it. I don't think I do. I think once I do this paint component, that should be fine. And so then I should just be able to call draw maze and pass in G. And that way, right here, it knows what the heck I'm talking about for G. So I'm going to compile and run, and I get the same behavior. Now the reason I wanted to go ahead and refactor this is because I think I'm going to want to call draw maze separately. Although I don't know, maybe not. Maybe I need to call. Maybe paint component's just going to handle it. We'll see. We'll see how that works. I'm not exactly sure. But this definitely makes my paint component here. So this is draw maze, right? So in fact, we could even almost call this like draw grid or draw like blank maze. So yeah, so that's going to be it for this video. We now have our program drawing the grid. Again, let me run this. It's not, it's not dynamically sizing here.
I think that has to do with our frame class. We'll maybe play with that next time or another time for sure. I think it might be nice to have this window actually size based off of this grid, or the reverse, have the grid size based off of the window. Yeah, so again, that's it for this time. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.